Story 1. Normally, in the United States, it is free, but every other country requires people to pay to use the restroom. That should be a basic human right. Story 2. This is one of the most disturbed discussions I have ever seen. Clearly, there is no realistic understanding of how the world works. Story 3. I dislike questions like this. Nothing that requires services, manufacturing, farming, or anything else that uses labor and materials is free. So basically, nothing is free. Free healthcare? Who pays the nurses, doctors, and overhead expenses? Free food? Who pays for farming, processing, and distribution? Free water? Who pays for treatment, storage, distribution, and maintenance? The same applies to electricity. Those big generators are not free. I think what you are asking is, what is something that should be taxpayer subsidized? In the United States, education through grade 12 is generally free, paid for by various tax arrangements depending on the state. Police and fire protection, road building and maintenance except toll roads, the military, Medicaid, transportation safety services, and regulatory services in a wide variety of areas. All of these things are free. And guess what? Our country operates at a huge financial deficit and cannot afford to provide more free things, as much as we would like. All of that is not to say that a discussion about priorities is not appropriate or important. But that is a different topic. Story 4. The only things a person is entitled to for free are those they can obtain or produce without help. Water, air, and wild foods. If it requires someone else to make, process, or perform it, then making it free would be equivalent to making the producers slaves. Story 5. Nothing that anyone had to work for should be free, unless you are okay with working for free too. Also, what people usually mean by free is that someone else should pay for it, as pretty much nothing except air is truly free. I had free education for the most part. The taxes everyone paid covered it. It was not free and never will be. Story 6. Property taxes. I buy a home just so I can pay thousands of dollars in taxes a year to continue to live in it. What? Story 7. Reddit? Everything. And I do not want to work for it either. Normal people, nothing. I want to earn everything I have. Story 8. Hospital parking. To prevent misuse, you must register your vehicle. Story 9. My doctor thinks I should get a magnetic resonance imaging, but it costs $800 after insurance, so I am not getting a magnetic resonance imaging. I hate this country very much. Story 10. Free universal healthcare, education up to university level, internet access, housing, and food. This is a start that I will implement on day 1 of my presidency of the world. I will stand firm on this because we all do better when everyone has access to basic necessities of life without suffering or worry. Story 11. Healthcare universal coverage was going to happen, but propaganda influenced by the American Medical Association's greed prevented it. Upskilling can be done through university or vocational school. University used to be free or heavily subsidized, but thanks to President Reagan, it is no longer affordable for many. Better skilled individuals and higher critical thinking skills can advance society. The issue is that certain groups would no longer profit from ignorance and would face more competition, which they oppose. A basic small housing unit, less than 750 square feet, including utilities such as water, gas, internet, and electricity, should be affordable. However, privatization is designed to extract value from people. Regarding taxes, the Internal Revenue Service already has the necessary information, but lobbyists prevent the implementation of automatic tax filing. Congress has been lobbied to block upgrades to the IRS's outdated computer systems to current information technology standards. This results in wasted time and money for everyday people who must file taxes manually, which could be reduced to a 5-minute process unless discrepancies arise. Companies like H&R Block and TurboTax lobby to maintain this cash flow. Many aspects of society could and should change. Unfortunately, Congress often fails to prioritize the will of the people due to gerrymandering, propaganda, and an emphasis on profits over the public good. Hopefully, the 2026 midterm elections will see enough motivated voters to bring about an improved Congress. Be sure to vote. Story 12. We do have quite a few of them. To be honest, you can probably find one in many places, especially tourist hotspots, but it is nothing compared to what they have in the United States of America. I can imagine, though, that they become fewer as you enter places that are more susceptible to drought. Another key reason why water is not free is because it is finite, especially in places like Australia, which is prone to water shortages. Even then, you still have to pay to build, maintain, and operate the water infrastructure. The water itself is not what costs money, it is quite negligible. The pipes and related infrastructure are what cost money. I am sure that, unless there is a water shortage, you could go and collect water for free, but it is not cleaned, filtered, and pumped directly to your house. Someone has to pay for that, and if not through water rates, then through taxes. Even those water bubblers are paid for by ratepayers. Something else that should be a basic human right is access to toilets. There are no excuses for a lack of public toilets in Australia. Sydney is by far the worst place I have been to in Australia for toilets. It does not even compare, and that is unacceptable. We are at fault for tolerating it, but Sydney is a godsend compared to the United States of America. Story 13. Tolls, specifically for roads, are technically a maintenance fee, but I have never seen the maintenance. The roads are either in poor condition, chipped and falling apart, or there is a long-term plan, such as adding an overpass sometime in the next couple of decades. Story 14. Reminder. If your basic human right involves human labor, it can never be forced, which equals freedom. Story 15. Air at the service station. I had to use my card to pay $3 to fill up the tires on my bike the other day. On top of that, the sign on the pump said $2.50, so I was charged an additional 50 cents. Hardly a basic human right, true, but it feels predatory. And yes, I understand it is due to the cost of constantly replacing the nozzle because of people stealing them. The least they could do is allow the cashier to turn the pump on with a purchase or for someone in dire need. I wonder how much it costs the independent company providing the service to update the price sticker so it reflects the actual price charged. Probably less than a new card reader. Story 16. All medical assistance, knowledge, and shelter should be basic rights. Everyone should have the essentials to survive in society. Story 17. Pads and tampons. If I could stop having periods, I would. It is involuntary, and basic pads should be free, with the high-quality brands being tax-free if you want them. Story 18. I am lucky to live in the United Kingdom, where we already have healthcare. However, tampons and pads should be free because they cost a fortune, and not everyone can afford them. Story 19. I am not American, so I do not have to face this issue, but I find it shocking how people still have to pay a large amount of money to potentially save their own lives when the government should be covering such vital services. Then there is health insurance that tries hard to find a reason not to help you despite your payments. The situation in the United States is a never-ending problem. Story 20. Water is high on the list. I now live in Oregon, the rainy part at that. I have never seen water bills like this. 90% of the cost is service charges, not usage. Before that, I lived in a drought-prone part of Colorado with very low water bills. The water was terrible, but still manageable. Transportation is also a concern. I do not want to own a car, but I have no choice because many essential goods and services are not available where I live. There is no bus service to anywhere. Story 21. Water, food, heating, air conditioning, and housing. Basically anything we pay a bill for except for streaming service subscriptions. We pay for anything that is a necessity. Story 22. I don't know about free, but everything in most of the world is man-made, whether the water system that delivers water, the farms that produce food and bring it to the stores, the system set up to purchase it, or the electricity that runs the grid. Man did not make water, food, or oil, but man makes the system that provides these resources for the masses. Why that matters to me is because we keep hearing that it is so complicated, that it is a process. But it is man-made, so it is really not that hard, we just keep accepting it. For example, Dogecoin literally went in and did what they wanted. It is a terrible example because they had to come back and correct what they got wrong, but the point is it can be done. Fast solutions can happen as long as the people are united over it. Now, why I don't think any of it should be free is because I think it should be affordable, and it is most definitely not affordable at the moment, at least in America. Free should be the last thing we worry about, especially when millions just lost healthcare and food assistance in America because they are being labeled lazy. So talks of free are not even on the radar. We need to figure out how to get back to leadership that listens and wants to work with the masses rather than someone who claims to listen but has every excuse for why they can't, or just says things are happening even though you can go to the gas station, store, or see your electric bill and know nothing has lowered. At this point, at least for the sake of the economy, affordable is the better route, and then we can go from there. Story 23. The gym is essential for maintaining health. It fosters discipline in daily life, helping to prevent overweight and heart problems. Story 24. Water. Renewable electricity. We paid for solar panels and still pay into the consolidated Edison system because the law no longer allows selling units back into the grid. Internet with basic speed. Healthcare, mental health, dentistry, and vision care. Police, fire, emergency response, and natural disaster insurance. Education. Story 25. Dental treatment should be a part of the universal healthcare system in Norway. But now it is so expensive that people are forced to sell their homes, cars, or motorcycles, or take out a loan to get their teeth fixed. Story 26. Anything that must be provided by others is not a right. Free healthcare for everyone would be nice, but it is not a human right. Story 27. Healthcare, clean drinkable water, and food. No one should die of a preventable illness. No one should die because they cannot access clean water to drink. No one should die of malnutrition. Will this cost taxpayers money? Of course it will. Is it something we should pay for? Absolutely. If you have health care, you already pay for other people's care anyway. I have it, but don't get mad when someone who needs insulin has part of it covered. Even though I'm not diabetic, I don't even do a yearly checkup. I pay my water bill, but don't get mad that some of it is used to subsidize the bill of those less fortunate. I don't have children, but don't get mad when my tax dollars go to the public school system. It's having morals and empathy, not socialism. Let's not confuse currently imperfect systems with fallacy. Story 28. I am of the opinion that all basic necessities for life should be free or extremely price-controlled through public options. This includes healthcare, a reasonable amount of groceries, basic housing, and water. Ideally, this would extend beyond life necessities to societal ones as well, such as electricity, gas, internet, education, childcare, and elderly care. Story 29. Paying for parking as a visitor at a hospital while parking at a casino is free is not really a human right but is frustrating. Story 30. People would be happier and more productive if, like in the television series Star Trek, their basic needs were met, such as not having to worry about food or keeping a roof over their heads. Story 31. Almost any aspect of living. You might even be put in jail if you decide to live outside because it is usually on someone else's property and they do not want you there. Story 32. Taxes on used items. After paying taxes on an item when it is new, it should not be taxed again. Clean and accessible water. Story 33. Feminine hygiene products. Not only do you have to deal with cramps, mood swings, and blood clots, but you also have to pay a lot just to avoid bleeding through your clothes. Story 34. Period products and condoms. If you do not want people to have abortions, make it easier to access a condom. Period products should be free. Story 35. Basic healthcare, all healthcare, should be subsidized by your government and prioritized over expanding your defense system when you are already capable of destroying the entire planet many times over. Story 36. A basic smartphone, but not in the way you think. Phones have become a small but integral part of our society, making it hard to function with modern-day problems. Most jobs require you to fill out a resume online. You might have family far away and want to talk to them. You could be in a situation where you don't know what to do and need to look it up. People often consider smartphones as non-essential because of social media, but they are slowly becoming an increasingly important tool to help you move forward in the world. Story 37. All our basic human needs, the things we need to live and participate in society, food, clean water, healthcare. I thankfully have that, though it does not cover dental, eyes, or medication, shelter, electricity, heating, and air conditioning, and so on. Making people pay for their basic human needs is barbaric. The whole point of having a society is to ensure that everyone has their basic human needs met. That is the bare minimum of a functional society. Story 38. Almost everything in your house, electricity, water, natural gas, and even internet, should be free in this new world. Story 39. Healthcare. It is surprising to be living in a developed nation in modern society and still be financially exploited for services I need to stay alive or at least physically and mentally well. Story 40. Food, shelter, healthcare, water, and education. Imagine if people did not have to worry about these necessities. It would greatly help society advance. Story 41. Water. I am outraged every time I am a tourist and have to pay for tap water, looking at you, Switzerland, or when I hear it has been privatized in Chile and the United Kingdom. In Western Australia, tap water is free in public places, and restaurants and bars are required to provide tap water free of charge. At home, you pay to cover sewer maintenance and water treatment, but the cost is well below actual expenses and is subsidized by all taxpayers. Story 42. For women, feminine hygiene products are expensive. It is unfair that they have to pay for them when many do not want to have periods. Story 43. Food, water, healthcare, education, and basic housing. The concept of government is to provide these basic needs to its citizens, if not deeply subsidized. Instead, we hand out money to foreign interests and large corporations. Story 44. The problem with anything being free as a right is that it takes other people's labor to produce that thing. Therefore, a society that truly guaranteed free healthcare, for example, would have to require people to provide that care if demand exceeded supply. Story 45. If something that you want or need requires the labor of another person, then it is not a human right. Claiming otherwise supports slavery. Story 46. Food, water, basic housing, healthcare. These are essentials you would literally die without. You should not have to pay to exist. Story 47. Anything necessary for people with diseases and disabilities that are beyond their control. Diabetes, free insulin, cancer, free treatment, impaired mobility, free wheelchair, nearsightedness, free glasses and contact lenses, depression, free therapy. Story 48. Basic healthcare, life-saving medications, feminine hygiene products, and native fruit bushes and trees throughout the country. Story 49. Water, garbage disposal, electricity, healthcare, car insurance and registration, property taxes, my clothes and shoes shopping addiction. Story 50. Seeing water a lot here, but I disagree. Water for drinking and hygiene should be free, and in most places it is pretty cheap but not free. Water for keeping your yard green and washing your car should be expensive. Story 51. Medicine, food including basic meat, rice and vegetables, warm shelter, and basic clothing. I believe these should be free for everyone. Story 52. The United States of America remains at the top of the food chain as always. Let's go. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.